I want to practice today my terminology. That's what I'm thinking to focus in on. So that means that I'd like to be able to be more specific, kind of naming what I'm playing uh, in a way that I think is specific to a certain collection of notes, so that I can communicate it better to others, and also just be able, if I can do that, then I think I know it better. So that means, like, for example, when I define like this node and I play it on the guitar, like I could, like, how, what could I call that node, right? It's on fret 5, so I could say it's fret 5. It's 3 strings down from the top of the guitar, if I want to say it that way. But a lot of people get confused because the top string, pitch wise, is on the bottom of the guitar. And I think the most succinct way to saying it would be that it's a fret 5 G, if you want to name it by note name. But I don't really want to name it by note name because I want to name it by the collection of notes. So I'm playing in the collection of notes around the key of C. So that means this is position 1, and this is then the nodal point number 5, right? That would be the Mixolydian node. So I'd like to say this is fret 5 nodal point 5, or fret 5 Mixolydian node, which happens to be a G, right? And I could so I want to work on like that kind of terminology. Now notice I don't really have to say which string it's on. Like the other way I could say is listing it by by grid coordinates. It would be fret 5 and then the this string, which would be the D string, right? So where am I from a grid coordinate standpoint? Well, I'm on I'm on fret 5 D string, right? But I don't really need to say the D string because there's not going to be I'd rather name the node that I'm on, right? So there's not going to be more than one nodal point number 5. So if you know your shapes, then we would like to be able to say most succinctly it's fret 5 and it's the Mixolydian node. There's only going to be one Mixolydian node in this this set of strings, right? Unless I'm on the same E top and bottom E string, unless I'm on the top string. So, but I could name it the other way. I could name it I could name it by the string, right? The open string. And so I'm just kind of thinking this out. I know I'm kind of rambling because I'm trying to work it out to myself to say what the best thing to do would be. But like if it was the open string, I could name the open string by the note name, which would be a D string. So it would be a D string. And then I could say, instead of fret 5, I could say it's the D string nodal point 5, or Mixolydian. Because once again, on this string, this whole set of notes, there's only going to be one nodal point 5 in the collection of notes that I'm in. So that's one way I could say it. I don't like to say it quite as that way because then I have 12 notes that I have to figure out where that 5 is, instead of only 5 strings and then a repeat of the top string on the top and bottom if I name it by fret 5 and then say nodal point 5. So I could you could also name it by shape that I'm in, right? So I could say this is this shape right here. Some people would call I would call it shape number 1, or you might call it, from a caged system, an Ionian G shape, because the G shape is in here. So you could name it by shape. I could say this is fret 5 Ionian G shape, and then I'm looking for the nodal point 5. Or if I know the collection of notes, I shouldn't even really have to tell you that it's on fret 5, right? Because if I'm in the collection of notes around the key of C, I could say, look, it's the Ionian G shape, and I'm looking for nodal point 5. Although in that case, there's 2 of them, so that's not exactly specific because I could be picking this one or this one. So I'm kind of spitballing. I know I'm all over the place right now because it's a practice session. Sometimes I feel like people don't get like what it means, like practice session. So I feel like the best way to go is to say it's going to be fret 5, and then the nodal point that I'm on, Mixolydian nodal point. But when if I name the string to be more specific, I don't really want to call that the Dorian string, even though in this collection of notes it would be the Dorian string. because I think it'd be more specific to use absolute numbers, like that's the D string, that's the fret number 5, and it's going to nodal point, not note, that's a G note, but I'm going to say it goes to the nodal point of a Mixolydian. So if I want to be as specific as possible to tell people exactly what I'm doing and the collection of notes that I'm in, I would name the x-axis, if you want to think about it that way, as the frets, fret 5, the y-axis named for the absolute note names, meaning the strings, that's going to be a D string, and then the point that I'm on, which will be relative to the collection of notes, in this case, nodal point number 5. I could say it's a G5, right? It's a nodal point G5 if you want to name the note name. See, if I did the same thing over here, like with this collection of notes, now that nodal point is an Ionian, right? So now what would I could still say, look, now I'm in the collection of notes around the key of G, but this shape now is now shape number 3, or you can call it an Ionian D shape, because there's the Ionian D if you did a bar chord kind of shape or a caged chord. And so then I would say, so then I'd like to say it's a fret 5. It's still a D, even though it's nodal point number 5 now. It's still a D string, which has nodal point number 1, or Ionian, right? Or in other words, it's the fret 5 Ionian nodal point, which is in, position 3 from my perspective, or a caged D shape, if you want to think about it that way. So that's one thing I kind of want to work on. And then as I'm working on that, I want to get my more technical language for like what I'm doing. Like if I did a roll like this, like here's a hammer on. So that would be, I went from a fret 5 Mixolydian to a fret 7. So a fret 5 Mixolydian hammer to fret 7 Aeolian, right? But what if I hit that note in between with the roll? Like what if I roll it up to here and then here? That's what I'm going to call a hammer roll. It's a hammer roll. It's a 2-finger hammer roll. So that's a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 5 Mixolydian in the collection of notes around the key of C major, right? So it's a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 5 Mixolydian ending on fret 7 Aeolian, right? And then what if I did this like slur thing like this? I went backwards, go doo-doo, like that, like back and forth, but so I'm starting on here, and I'm calling that a fret 5, I'm calling that a fret 5 Mixolydian backwards pointer finger fret wiggle, because it's wiggling across the fret, backwards fret wiggle. So it's a fret 5 Mixolydian backwards fret wiggle with a double wiggle, because I'm doing it twice. So I'm going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So it's a fret 5 Mixolydian backwards double finger fret wiggle. I don't know, right? So I'm kind of playing with that. And then if I played these 3 backwards, like I played this, and then I did the hammer roll, like, and by the way, I didn't have the other term I was thinking of is like if I'm down here, oftentimes you do a smear, like you go from here to here, right? Going from here to here. Now you can call that a slide, and I guess that kind of works, but I kind of feel like if it's just going one way up there, like I think of a slide technically as one finger that you're sliding up, kind of like that, or one finger like that. So it's a 2-fret, that would be a 2-fret slide. But I feel like just a one, like if you're doing like this, a 1 fret with your second finger, then I would think that I'd like to call that a smear, right? So it's a smear, right? I'm smearing into that's what I feel like. So I feel like it should be, so I'm playing down here, and then I'm playing on the fret 5 Ionian, and then I'm doing a smear into the Aeolian, right? I'm doing a smear into fret 7 Aeolian. fret 7 Aeolian. So, I mean, fret 7 nodal point 6, which is the Aeolian. Now, you could say I'm doing a smear from nodal point 5.5 or the Mixolydian Ocean to fret 7 Aeolian, but I don't really need to say that because I'm doing a half step, so it's a smear. It's a smear going to. I just need to name the destination because that's most likely the one that's going to be in the collection of notes. It's not going to be in the ocean, right? It's not going to be outside the collection. So it's possibly I could just go, yeah, now I'm on the Ionian, and then I do a smear fret 7, a smear into fret 7 Aeolian, fret 7 Aeolian. And there's only one note on fret 7 that's an Aeolian in the collection of notes around the key of C. Now, if I did that same thing over here, right, then I would be doing a smear from, I got my finger, my pointer on the Lydian. So fret 5 Lydian, and then I'm doing a smear to fret 7 into fret 7 Dorian. Might be a hammer-on smear. Hammer-on smear, open Mixolydian to fret 7 Dorian. Hammer-on smear from open Mixolydian to Ionian Ocean to Dorian. Fret 7 Dorian. See, and that's more specific if you know the collection of notes that you're in, right? Because otherwise I have to name all the notes. I have to name all the notes on the fretboard, and I'm not given the perspective of am I smearing to something inside the collection of notes or outside the collection of notes, right? Like in my terminology, I'd like to be able to say, I know the collection of notes, I know the shape that I'm in, and I'm in shape number 3, fret 5, shape number 3. I'm on the Lydian node, and I'm smearing from outside, from the ocean, into the continent of the Dorian. So I'm going from the Ionian Ocean 1.5 node to the Dorian node, because that's more specific than to say, look, I'm going from G sharp to A. Why? Because if I say G sharp to A, I'm not telling you what collection of notes I'm in. I'm not telling you that I'm going from something outside the collection into something that's inside the collection. So it's like if I don't know if you've ever played like that lava game where you have to jump around on the floor and not touch the floor because it's the lava or whatever, It's kind of the same thing here. You got to know where the lava is so that you could touch it, but you want to be able to know when you're touching it so that you don't hang out there too long. So we should have a communication method where we have the key signature, is what I'm saying, so that we name things by relative position, because all the relative positions are the same, just like copying and pasting. What is this? Just like copying and pasting. So that would be a more specific naming convention. Otherwise, like I don't know if you ever like when I watch other people tell me what they're playing and stuff, and they're naming things in such a way that like they've schooled themselves to learn it. They know what they're talking about, and it works, but it's not exactly as specific as you would like, right? It seems like there'd be an easier way to do it by telling you which shape you're in, and then the naming convention should be relative to the shape you're in. I know I'm kind of picky on this, but maybe that's like I might have more problems than other people seeing it, like normally, maybe, is why I'm picky on it. So maybe I'm just like stupid or something. But I feel like the stupidness serves a purpose because it should be accessible to stupid people. Like, I mean, like you should be like if anybody could see it this way, only a few people could see it the other way, right? I mean, if you know the collection of notes you're in, then anybody can see what you're doing and why you would be doing it if you're going inside and you're going into the lava and outside of the lava this way. Whereas if you do it the other way, only highly educated people that can visualize the guitar from the perspective of that could see it, right? That's what I feel like. Anyway, so let's say so then I have so that's going to be that so that's the smear. That's the smear, and then I had what else did I have? Those are the main ones. So I'm gonna noodle around with those terms, but I think I'm gonna do a fairly long joke and then a movie review. Not really a movie, a TV show, because I don't really get, and I know that's kind of not really my theme on the guitar thing, so that might take a little bit longer than normal. But I feel like I don't get to do movie reviews that often because I don't watch movies more than most people. I kind of canceled all my streaming services because they were pissing me off, and even if I watch the movie, I rarely watch one before everybody else has watched it. So no one really cares what I say because I'm kind of late to the game. But this one, this one is on. I watched that Pendragon thing on the Daily Wire, which I just happen to have a subscription to because I actually subscribed to them fairly early, so I'm kind of biased, I guess, in my review on that because I didn't subscribe to them at all for their movie stuff, but they wanted to do movie stuff, and I was like, well, cool. Good luck to you. I just follow the political commentary because I think they are the best at just honest political commentary that's knowledgeable in stuff. Mainly Shapiro is, I think, the most well-rounded political commentator. I mean, he just is. What are you gonna do? I mean, you might not like his presentation, but I mean, he knows the stuff. And I like Klavan too. So, and although he's more specific into what he likes or whatever his thing, but so then I and then before him, I actually listened in AM radio more than what Limbaugh. I liked Prager. So Prager, because he seemed to be more not so showy. He just tells you his thing, right? He just tells it to you as plainly as possible. And when I'm listening to political stuff, that's what I want. Just give it to me as plainly as possible. Tell me your perspective, and I can see if I agree with it or not. I don't need too much flair or stuff. So, and they kind of teamed up with the Daily Wire. So I thought that was cool. And so I didn't think they were, I kind of liked their documentaries seemed to fit their brand to me, but I didn't think I was skeptical they would be able to do anything really beyond that, and I haven't really been fully interested in any of their movies other than their documentary stuff beyond that. But this one is kind of like in my wheelhouse of what I used to like to watch. You you got Arthurian stuff and like dragons and stuff, so or that kind of whole thing. So it's in my wheelhouse, so I thought I would check it out. So anyways, but before I do, I'll do a joke on it. So this isn't my review. This is just a stupid pun joke, as is my custom, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the 2 episodes. All right. So when I first heard the Daily Wire Pendragon cycle, I assumed it was a movie about a dragon that doesn't breathe fire. It shoots ink. It's a dragon that shoots ink because why? Because Pendragon, obviously. And so just a terrifying medieval beast flying around Staples like, fear me for I am office supplies. But here's the twist. The ink would have been like invisible. It has invisible ink, So the Pendragon is just tagging castle walls with cryptic messages like, I know what you did, or check footnote 7. And the knights are panicking like the walls are blank, but they're very threatening way. So they have to figure out what the message says on the wall that the Pendragon has been writing by spitting not fire but ink, pen ink onto the wall. So, but how do you read invisible ink? Fire. That's how. It's flammable, which is great because now the Pendragon's ink is flammable, and you have to have fire with the dragon. It's cool that he can spit messages on the wall because he's the Pendragon but you still need fire. So you have to light the ink on fire to know the message. So technically, it does breathe fire. It just waits for peer review first before it breathes fire. So now the whole quest is just knights running around with torches like, all right, light the wall. No, not that wall, the other wall, the one that feels judgmental. And at that point, you realize this isn't a fantasy epic. It's a medieval email chain that got widely out of hand. That was my first impression before I watched the review, before I watched it. That's what I was kind of expecting. But now I'll give you my thoughts on it actually. Let's see. I'll see if I have. So here's what you're supposed to do when you do a movie review is put the trailer on the background. So hopefully I don't get copyright for doing that. I'll put the trailer on the background and I'll tell you what I think about it. So I don't think I have any spoilers here, but and the reason I don't think I have any spoilers is because you kind of know what's going to happen because but I'll give you like the genre as far as I understand it so that you can kind of fit it into the other genres because it's kind of a weird genre, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it because it seems to me I never read these books but I've read the Game of Thrones and I've read the Wheel of Time and that kind of stuff and they did a horrible job. Amazon did not these. This was pretty. Amazon did a horrible job with the Wheel of Time. I'm disgusted with their whole effort, and I think Brandon Sanderson should come out and be more pissed than he is. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what in the world. And then obviously, Lord of the Rings with the TV show was terrible. I mean, come on, dude. Like, what is going on with these things? And then the Game of Thrones is cool, but it's not really like even the books are kind of dark, right? He's a great writer, but it's kind of like there's no like really uplifting message that it's kind of leading to. It's just kind of a bunch of stuff that happens that's pretty crazy, but he writes the characters really well, I feel like. So, but this one is kind of Arthurian, so you kind of know what's going to happen because it's kind of got that Arthurian thing to it with Merlin and whatnot. But it also seems to be trying to play into historically a little bit different than the Arthurian thing, because sometimes the Arthurian thing, they kind of just throw you into like the super noble castle or whatever, kind of depends on who you're reading and everything. But really, I think the more historical Arthur, they try to go back to the time frame when Christianity moved into like Britain. So you've got like the Britain guy, like the ancient, kind of pagan guys in that were at the border of, I guess, the Roman Empire, which would have been a time frame after, when Christianity was moving in with Rome and then in here. So that would be, I think that's going to be, as far as I can tell, the general time frame. And then they try to put more of a biblical kind of thing. There's clearly biblical narratives in there, but the biblical narratives are kind of disjointed. They're kind of looking like almost archetypes from the Bible in there. So you kind of know where it's going because it's going to be Arthurian, you would think, and it's going to be historical to some degree at that time frame, and it's going to be somewhat biblical, and you would think that it's not going to do the modern thing of deconstructing all those things like every other show is doing because it's the Daily Wire. So you would think they're going to try to do what used to be done all the time, which is to try to tell a different type of story within the normal conventions instead of deconstructing all of the conventions, which I assume is what the books were about. I haven't read the books. I tried to read them, but I didn't really understand the genre. Before this came out, I was like, I'm going to read the books or listen to them on Audible, but I didn't because I was like, I don't know, I was just kind of out of reading or listening to them for a while. So I've never read the books, but now that I kind of get the genre, maybe I'll check it out. So that's the general overview. So let's see what we have on here. So you got So now I'll give you like kind of the plot points on this. So it seems to me the narrative, and so this might be somewhat spoilery, but again, I think you already kind of know the narrative, but also just if you know like these three genres, right? So I mean, but so they started off kind of like Willow or like the Old Testament with like the good old baby in the weeds going down the river and whatnot. So you would think, and so then the Britain guys, the kind of barbarian guys, you know, the pagan guys or whatever, find the baby, and so obviously that's going to be a Moses type thing. However, we're in kind of the New Testament kind of area because again, this is post Britain, right? So you would think, I guess that's supposed to symbolize kind of like, I don't know, Judaic Christianity coming to Britain or something, and so the kid that grows up doesn't look exactly like Jewish really. I think he's supposed to look like an angel because he's a little too good looking, right? He's a little too clean. I mean, you know, so I'm thinking that he's supposed to be like, I don't know, some kind of, I don't know, bringing in Christianity into the I think that's going to be the general kind of theme, because all the people around him are obviously grubby, kind of more grubby looking pagan guys, like warrior clan tribe, you know, people or whatever. And so then you got that going on, and then you've got the Atlantis, which again, if you know the theme of Atlantis, there's going to be tragedy because Atlantis always, you know, it fell in the ocean or something, is lost and everything. So you've got and they seem to be kind of like elfish in some way. They're kind of like this other people that are not, we don't really know much about them because Atlantis is a mystery kind of thing. But you've got this lady that's fighting a bull that's in the trailer here, and I think and they say that the bull is Baal. The bull is Baal, which again is kind of weird because I think that was the pagan guy in the high places in the Old Testament around like the Book of Kings, like, you know, after Solomon and whatnot, they kept on going up. That was the child sacrifice to Baal worshiping and that kind of. So I mean, and now we're in Atlantis and Britain, which I would think would have different, you know, gods than that. So I think what they're doing is they're like, dude, you know, we're just gonna use the god archetype of the bad god guy that like represents like the bull and child sacrifice, and we'll just use, so it's just Baal. All right, so Baal's like, it's pretty clear. I mean, that's not really a spoiler. He's the bad god, right? And so then, so you have that, and then the first episode was pretty action packed, which makes kind of sense. Like this lady was jumping over, she's the Atlantean, and she's jumping over bulls and stuff. But then but that's where the ball thing is, you know. And then so then now those people had to go into Britain or something after Atlantis. I don't know. So that's why they meet like the British guys, and then like so. So the first one was kind of interesting, but then the second one was a little slow because you had like the love story kind of dragged out and whatnot, you know. But I kind of get why they would have to do that because it's kind of like Braveheart, where they have you have to watch this whole like kind of melodrama at the beginning before, like, of course the wife is going to get killed by the bad people, so that then you can feel good about when the movie starts and he goes after and like kills everyone and stuff. So that's kind of, I think that's the same thing here. You got the setup. So now, because you have the whole setup, you know, before like Merlin is even on the scene. So I'm going to give him some space on that. It was a little bit slower on the second one, but I assume that's obviously the setup because now like then Merlin makes an appearance there, you know, is the thing. And then I don't know, Merlin's got some weird eyes, like these yellow eyes, which are kind of like eagle eyes, which I think is kind of pulling from like it's another kind of biblical reference, I think, to some, because that was also in the Lord of the Rings where the eagles were good and stuff like that. And then, and then and then like at the end, Merlin shows up and again they show Merlin when he first shows up. He's like, I don't know, it was an older guy. So I was thinking that he would be like they're trying to make him look like a prophet, I guess, would be from the Bible standpoint, like an Isaiah or like a John the Baptist, I guess, kind of character. Because you would think that's what he looks, because you would think, and they made him kind of hairy too, because I think, John was hairy or something. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking. But because you would think that then Arthur would be like I guess if you're mirroring the biblical story, more of the Christ character or something, or of that kind of cycle. I don't know. But that's my general take on it. So I've never read the book before, but I thought the first episode was interesting, more action. Second one kind of dragged on a bit, but it's the setup before then I'm assuming we get to, the main part of the story now that we have the drama has taken place, and now the story can really start, like, action-wise after that. So I was impressed. I don't know. I'm not a professional, but it's dang better than it's way better than the Wheel of Times. What they did to that is disgraceful. Disgraceful. I forgot what that guy's name was, but he would be rolling in his grave if he saw what they did to that, and Tolkien as well. Tolkien would be pissed if he saw what they did, Amazon did to his stuff, man. He would disown his family. I'm telling you. He'd be like, dude, I can't believe you let them do that. I can. So this one, at least I think he's staying true to the book. So I've never read the book. It's not but good for them. Good for them. Anyway. All right. That's my review. I won't do the song. Let's get back to practice. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna name the stuff as I go and practice my naming conventions. So I'm gonna practice it in the collection of notes around the key of C. So if I'm on the collection of notes around the key of C, Ionian is here, so that would be 8th fret. So the Ionian is on the 8th fret Ionian, tops or string closest to the ceiling, which I call the top string. All right, that's what gets confusing, but because there's two of the same pitch. So top string or one closest to the ceiling, or the high E. There's no way around that because there's 2 E strings, right? So that's going to get messed up no matter what you do. But and then back here to the Aeolian. So Aeolian, usually we play this. You might call it the Aeolian shape, or shape number 1, or an Ionian G shape if you use the cage system. And that would be going from A to A, or Aeolian to Aeolian. All right, so if I'm in that shape, then I'm going to be noodling around here. I'll use the green as where I put what I think of as my anchor finger. And so, for example, if I was to do a pattern where I do a roll forward like this, what would that be? That would be a fret 5, and then I'm going to go a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 5 Mixolydian to fret 7 Aeolian. 2-finger hammer roll from fret 5 Mixolydian to fret 7 Aeolian. So I'm not going to really name the string over here. I could, but that would take longer because I can already see it in the shape unless I'm on the top string or the bottom string, in which case I have to determine which string I'm on, the one on the top of the guitar or the bottom. Now, if I go back here and I do the same thing, I can do that because now I'm taking a half step back. So if I repeat that, right, it sounds a little it's outside the shape, but I'm doing a half step kind of pattern. So if I end that with something that's in the shape, it should be still pretty good, right? So if I So what would I call that if I did that then? From a naming convention, it would be a 2-finger hammer roll from, this time I'm outside the shape, so I would call that a 4.5, or that would be the Lydian Ocean, a 4.5 node to the fret 6 5.5 node, or the mixed Lydian Ocean. So this was what I call the Lydian Ocean, because the ocean is always to the right of the node. Right, so I'm going to say this is going to be the Lydian Ocean, the mixed Lydian Ocean, or the 4.5 node to the 5.5 node. So now I'm doing a hammer roll, a 2-finger hammer roll, fret 4, 4.5 node to 5.5 node, or in other words, from the Lydian Ocean to the mixed Lydian Ocean. And then if I brought it back here, so now I'm going to do the same hammer roll, and then I roll to that one that's outside, that's in the middle again. So now I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 3 Lydian to fret 5 Mixolydian, or 2-finger hammer roll from fret 3 4th modal point to fret 5 5th modal point. And then if I go here and I do the same thing, then I'm going to say, now I'm going to end on something outside, which is going to be a little funny because usually you don't want to end on something outside. But again, if you just do the same pattern as you walk it back, then it should be okay because you're basically doing half steps. So that would be, what would I call that? Well, that would be a fret 2, that would be a 2-finger hammer roll. That'd be a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 2 Phrygian to fret 4 Lydian Ocean, or a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 2 nodal point 3 to nodal point 4.5. All right, so that's what I'm thinking on that naming convention. Now, then I can start to get more specific and say, well, what if I just want to do a hammer roll that ends on something that's in the note? I don't care if I'm outside the note, but I don't want to end or begin on something that's outside. So then I can get more specific. As I walk this back, it's okay. I'm doing a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 5 Mixolydian to fret 7 Aeolian. And then I'm doing and then I'm going to go back to the neck because I don't want to go here because I don't want to start on a note that's outside. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to do a 2-finger hammer roll from fret 3 nodal point 4 to fret 5 nodal point 5, or fret 3 Lydian to fret 5 Mixolydian. And then maybe I go back here, and now I'm going to say, now I don't really want to end in the ocean. So I could change it to up here, or I can call that just a normal hammer-on, right? That would be a hammer-on from, you might not need, well, it would be a hammer-on from nodal point, from fret 2 nodal point Phrygian to fret 3 nodal point Lydian. And then I could bring it back to the open one here and do a hammer-on. All right, so that would be that term. What if I did a smear up here? So if I did a smear from here to here, again, I wouldn't really call that a slide so much as like a smear because I'm going from something inside the shape. So I've got my pointer, so I'm anchoring I should talk maybe about my anchor, right? So I have my anchor, fret 5 Ionian node, and then I'm doing a smear from fret 6 5.5 node to fret 7 Aeolian node. And it might be a hammer-on smear. So I'm doing a hammer-on smear, which I could say the hammer-on is on string D, the D string hammer-on, but I don't really need to because I could say, look, I'm doing a hammer-on to the fret 6 5.5 node to fret 7 node 6, because then that has to be on the D string, because I said the fret and the point that I'm hammering onto. So then I have that one. So that would be that. And then what was my other term that I was doing? I had a hammer on, I had a smear, I had the hammer roll, and then what else did I have? The wiggle. So this would be the backward. So the back fret, so this would be the back fret wiggle. So this would be going outside the shape. So I'm doing a back, so I'm on fret 5 Mixolydian back, a double back fret wiggle, a back double back fret wiggle. That means I'm wiggling 2 times across the fret. So fret 5 Mixolydian double back fret wiggle. Fret 5 Mixolydian back double wiggle. Fret 5 Mixolydian back double wiggle, fret wiggle. Fret 5 Mixolydian back fret wiggle, double back fret wiggle. Fret 5 Mixolydian double back fret wiggle versus a single fret wiggle. Okay, so let's come up with a pattern here. So what if I reached outside? So that's like a walk back shuffle. Half step walk back shuffle. So if I walk this back, this would be I'm anchored on fret 5, and I'm just doing a half step walk back fret shuffle with the anchor on fret 5. Anchor fret 5. Okay. So let's say I do a pattern here. So let's say I go here and I go outside the fret, and then I go down here, and then a smear. So in that case, I'm I've got my anchor on fret 5 Mixolydian, and then I'm anchored on fret 5 Mixolydian, pinky to fret 8 to fret 8 Aeolian Ocean, or nodal point 6.5. And then I'm barring fret 5 Ionian, and then I'm going to a smear from fret 6 Ionian, fret 6 Mixolydian Ocean to fret 7 Aeolian. So then I'll alter that pattern, but then I'll do a backward wiggle. So I'm going anchor, fret 5 Mixolydian, reaching pinky to fret 8 Aeolian Ocean, and then I'm going to bar fret 5 Ionian, and then I'm going to do a wiggle, and then I'm going to do a double back fret wiggle with the anchor fret 5 Mixolydian. I've been doing that strumming thing. It's been messing my hands tired. Too much. All right, so that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So let's walk back then. So let's say if I did a walk back, see if I can name this correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to do a walk back. I'm leaning on the open string, which I'll say is the D string. So it's the D string no matter what, right? That's the open string, which is a Dorian. And so I'm going to say in this shape, and I'm going back with a shuffle pattern, alternating between the D string and the G string below it, Dorian Mixolydian. So Dorian and Mixolydian shuffle walk back pattern, and then I'm going from fret 7 Aeolian to fret 5 Mixolydian to fret 3 Lydian, and then I'm doing a double finger hammer roll from fret 3 Lydian to fret 5 Mixolydian, and then I'm doing a smear from fret 4 Ionian Ocean to fret 5 Dorian. Okay. So I think that. So what if I did like? So this is this. What if I put my fingers here and I go? So this would be a reverse. That's like a reverse hammer on roll off. It's a reverse hammer on roll off. It's a hammer on reverse roll off. Right, because I'm hammering on open, so it's an open, wait a sec, let's do it down here. This is where I was doing it on. So it's an open D. Open D hammer on, so it's an open string, it's an open D hammer on fret 3 Lydian roll off, and then hammer on with a one finger roll off. Two finger roll off to open string. So it's a fret 3 Lydian hammer on. So fret 3 open string hammer on reverse 2 finger roll off to open string. It's a fret 3 Lydian hammer on to 2 finger roll off to open string. Versus if I just hammer on and I stop here, if I don't roll back to the Dorian, right, because there's a difference. Like if I rolled back to the open string, versus if I stop on the Phrygian. Versus so if I stopped on the Phrygian, if I did an open string hammer on to fret 3 Lydian roll off, one finger roll off to Phrygian. So it's a hammer on to Lydian, one finger roll off to Lydian, or fret 3 open string hammer on to nodal point 4 roll off, one finger roll off, or what do they call it? A lift or a now I forgot the normal name. What do they call that? That's it's a pull-off. It's a pull-off. It's just a pull-off because it's only one finger. So it's a fret 3, open string, hammer on, nodal point 4, pull-off to nodal point 3. But what if I do a 2-finger pull off to the open string? Now it's a fret 3, hammer on, nodal point 4, and then a roll off, not just a pull off, a roll off. It's a 2-finger roll off to the open string. See, there's a difference. There's a difference. All right? I need to define this because people don't. The dang crazy deconstructivists have taken over all of the education facilities, and if they name stuff, it's gonna be. I hate to pull a Candace Owens phrase, but if you leave it up to the, if you leave it up to the institutions to name it and the universities, it's gonna be lame and gay. That's just the way. You have to. We've got to take control of this. On the rest of the time here. Maybe I'll continue with that tomorrow. So let's see if I can get the cajon. Practice the cajon. I need to get a kick drum in my cajon.